It is not often you hear of paranormal events taking place in a new property, but in today's true story, you will hear the terrifying events that took place soon after a young couple moved into their first home. The people that provided me this story have decided to stay anonymous as the events were so terrifying, so for today's video, I am going to give them the anonymous names of Carl and Katie. Before we get started, please subscribe to Mr. Fear, and if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. In 2015, a young couple bought their first home. It was bought on a brand new housing estate, and often they would visit the house while it was still being built. It was not until 3 months after they moved in did the paranormal events start to happen. One night, the couple woke to the smell of burning tobacco. The smell was so strong that they thought somebody was inside the home. After looking around every room in the house, there was nobody to be seen. A couple of days later, the smell came back again, to the point that evening they decided to visit the showroom and ask for one of the sales staff to visit the property immediately. When the salesperson visited, they could also smell the burning of cigarettes, but could not understand why, and they said the builders were working on the other side of the housing estate. It was from this day, things got worse. One night, Carl was working away, when the whole street suffered a power cut. Katie, being alone in the house, went to the kitchen to grab a torch, and as she turned into the kitchen, she saw a figure standing in the middle of the kitchen. She described the figure of a tall, overweight man with a strong smell of cigarettes. She immediately ran out of the house, terrified, to a neighbouring property and said, "There is somebody in my house." The neighbours came over to the house, where nobody was found. She decided that evening to stay with friends and would tell her husband when he returned from his work trip the following day. Unfortunately, the events did not stop there. The evening of her husband's return, the smell came back while they were having dinner. Once again, they investigated the entire house and decided to look in the loft, but nobody was in there. While Katie was standing on the ladder, she decided to look down and could see a figure of a man walking up the stairs. She screamed in terror, and the figure slowly disappeared. Weeks went by, and one evening, while asleep, Carl woke to the sound of a car passing by the house. When he rolled over, he saw a figure stood in the doorway, a large male figure. When Carl turned the lights on, nobody was there. At this stage, they decided to call the police and inform them of all the events that had taken place. When the police visited that evening, they said there was nothing they could do, but recommended putting CCTV on the property. The following morning, the couple visited the sales office and spoke to them of the events and if there was anything they needed to know. The salesperson explained there was nothing to worry about and that the property was built on farming land. After everything that happened, and that Carl and Katie had now both seen the dark figure, they decided to call a paranormal expert to visit the home. The investigator told Carl to not tell him anything about the property or what had happened, just to tell him the address and that he will visit in 1 week's time. A few days later, the home seemed calm and nothing had happened. The couple finally felt at ease, but this did not last. One night before the investigator was due to arrive, Carl and Katie woke to the sound of a man's voice shouting the words, "No, no, no." This terrified Katie and Carl. They both jumped out of bed and turned the lights on, and as they did, they heard the terrifying sound of loud footsteps going down the stairs. After a sleepless night, the paranormal investigator visited the home. On his arrival, he stated there is something dark in your home and complained of the smell of cigarettes. He went upstairs alone and asked the couple to wait downstairs. After 15 minutes, the investigator came downstairs and asked Carl and Katie to sit down. He asked them both, "Have you done a Ouija board?" The couple replied and said no. He said, "You have a dark spirit in your home, and it's not a ghost. You may have seen the presence of a large male figure, because that is what I saw, but you have an entity in your home, a dark, malevolent force that wants to harm you. The only way that this type of force can come into your home is by being invited." Carl and Katie explained they only moved into the home 2 months ago and had never done a Ouija board. The investigator recommended an exorcist to take place that evening to remove the entity, as he feared things will only get worse. Carl and Katie agreed to the exorcism taking place that evening and left the home for it to begin. After an hour, the investigator asked the couple to return home. He said everything is over and he should not have any more paranormal events taking place. Katie asked what the man wanted in our home. The investigator said it was a man that was invited years before these houses were built, probably by a Ouija board. The man was confused and lost, and when this house was built, it latched on to you both. It wanted to cause you harm and enjoyed scaring you, but now it is gone. 6 months later, Carl and Katie decided to sell their home. Nothing happened after the paranormal investigator visited the house, but it never felt like their home again. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. If you have a ghost story that you'd like to be told, please email me at mrfearyoutube@outlook.com.